The Queen Bee syndrome is one in which a woman in a position of authority views or treats subordinates more critically if they are female, while favouring males when it comes to promotion. Now, research is currently being done to try and delve deeper into the thoughts of those affected and those portraying Queen Bee tendencies. Now, within the South African labour spaces, the dialogue of the Queen Bee has begun, but it's not yet gained momentum, and very limited academic research showcasing South African examples are available. But to tell us more is Dr Aradhana Ramnund-Mansingh, who is currently conducting the Queen Bee research. A very good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Live. Let's first discuss the definition of the Queen Bee syndrome and how it can be identified.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So the Queen Bee, it's quite interesting because when we look at the Queen Bee in nature, she's the only queen in the colony. She has a graceful body and she's fed royal jelly. So if we had to compare that, the Queen Bee in the workplace is very, very different. She is that woman who has undergone the journey alone. She has gone through the struggles alone, and she has now she's achieved her position of power, and she believes that because she has gone through the journey alone, it's not, she's not going to develop or mentor any other women to achieve a position of power or leadership.
Doctor, take us through why it was important or is important to conduct research such as this, especially looking at the South African labour discourse.
Look, in the workplace, through many centuries, women have struggled to gain some sort of parity. It all starts with the way our education systems are, with the way we are socialized. You won't believe it, but from the day we are born, even before we are born, our gender is socialized. Our parents, our families, our communities, and as we enter the primary school stages of our lives, we already know that as a girl, you should be wearing pink. You should be playing with dolls. You should become a nurse or a teacher. And we are brought up with these socialized notions, and it carries through with us into the workplace. Dialogues of this are extremely important because women, I think a lot of the Queen Bees in the workplace do not take cognizance of the fact that they actually are Queen Bees. What happens is they join the boys' network. And when they do, they end up becoming bullies to other women who are striving to reach that level of leadership or power. So they actually abuse their power and try and push down women who are trying to achieve.
Now, scientists from the University of Toronto have said that the Queen Bee syndrome may be the reason that women find it more stressful to work for female managers. Would you say this is correct? And is there any sort of data that speaks to this in the South African context?
Look, first of all, the speculation was done some time ago, and significant research has been done subsequent to that. There are a number of stressors for women in the workplace, specifically the fact that women have to not only hold down a job, but hold down a family, be a mother, be a wife, hold down a household. So this is also a huge contributing factor to stress for women. However, women in leadership are all not Queen Bees. So we have a balance. We have those women who will go out of their way to mentor and develop every woman in their path to ensure that they gain parity, that they're heard, and that they're empowered in the workplace. However, if you had to work under or being a subordinate to a Queen Bee, it is highly stressful because these are women that do not display what we call feminine leadership values. Now, feminine leadership values is gaining a lot of momentum in the workplace currently due to the fact that women tend to be more empathetic, more collaborative, more supportive to other women, because they recognize the number of roles that women have to play. So the Queen Bee does not display these feminine leadership values. They align to the old boy or the boys network just to gain some support from them in their area of leadership or power.
Now, there are levels to this Queen Bee syndrome, mainly the Princess Bee, the Phantom Bee, and the Cinderella Complex Bee. Take us through what each of these are.
Okay, quite interesting, because when this piece got published earlier in the week online, and I invited people to participate in my research, I got some very interesting feedback. You know, people didn't know that the Queen Bee syndrome existed, let alone that there were these different levels. You know, before I go into the levels, I just want to highlight, in South Africa, in 2011, there was one concrete study done in the retail banking sector. So there's a huge research gap within the South African environment, you know, with regards to Queen Bee research. People need to be made aware, they need to be educated, and Queen Bees who are unaware of, you know, of how they're portraying themselves in the workplace need to be, maybe need to take a step back and be aware and try to consciously change the manner in which she is behaving towards her female counterparts. Going back to the different levels, yes, the Princess Bee is one of, is a woman who has achieved. However, she will develop and mentor other women, providing that it's it's out of her territory. So if you are applying as a woman, applying for a job or promotion in a different department, in a different organization, the Princess Bee will support you. She will develop you, she will mentor you, she will do whatever it takes to assist you to reach that position, as long as it's not within her domain and you are not providing competition to her. The Phantom Bee, on the other hand, will not recommend women into any positions of leadership. If a position occurs, she would recommend a man over a woman for the position. And then the Cinderella complex, very much like the fairy tale, where we call it the ugly stepsisters bringing down the Cinderella, in that we have groups of women who stand by together and they target one specific woman. So, you know, also aligned to bullying in the workplace, they gather together in their numbers and, you know, they bully the woman emotionally, they torment her. And this is what the Cinderella complex is all about.
All right, Doctor, that's where we'll have to leave it for this morning. Thank you very much for your insights and clarity.